We are just under a year away from votes being cast, and with that, former President Trump easily topped the list, with 43% of Republican primary voters reporting him as their top pick. Governor Ron DeSantis was next with 28%. Now, 7% backed former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and former Vice President Mike Pence. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney earned the support of 2%. Aside from Trump, Haley is the only other candidate in that group that has announced a run.
Boy, that number for Donald Trump, 43% of the Republican vote, it is significant. And you underestimate, every Republican would underestimate Donald Trump at their own risk. He's quietly had a pretty good political month in terms of doing some of these retail events in South Carolina that he didn't do a whole lot during the 2020 campaign. His trip to East Palestine, Ohio, ahead of Pete Buttigieg, going to McDonald's. He's shown sort of a common touch that he had trouble with, frankly, when he was president and running for re-election. So these numbers show that Trump is still formidable within the Republican Party.
Trump v. DeSantis is interesting because Trump still wields a lot of power in the Republican Party, but DeSantis is pretty nearly half his age. He's got all this dynamism now, very successful in the midterms, really doing a good job in Florida. How do you see this playing out? Because they've got to work it out, I think, to have a success in 2024.
I'm not sure that they have to work it out. I don't think President Trump is really capable of working it out with people he sees as potential or real rivals to him. That's sort of not his
Did DeSantis
MO.
beat him, do you think?
Yes. And I think the reason that DeSantis can beat him is because Donald Trump is very charming when he's winning, and when he is losing, he just seems whiny. And that's a real problem for him. So after 2020, when he maintained that he won and he had not, I think a lot of Republicans were willing to grant him the premise, which was, okay, you pulled off this miracle in 2016. You're the only man who can win, so how could he possibly lose in 2020? If you say you won, okay, fine. And then the 2021 elections happen in Georgia, and essentially he contributes to the loss of 2 Senate seats in Georgia.
Yeah.
And then the 2022 elections happen, and pretty much all of his hand-picked candidates in the Senate then proceed to lose.
Yeah.
And a lot of Republicans look at this and they say, well, listen, we have a lot of warm feelings toward you personally, but we can't keep losing to these people. And so we need something new. We need somebody who wins. And so when they look at the board, the person who's putting the most W's on the board right now is DeSantis in Florida. I mean, in the same election where Republicans wildly underperformed, there was a red wave, but it only hit one state. It hit the state where I happen to live. It hit Florida, and it was a tsunami.
And I've been to Florida a lot recently, and they love him in Florida.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got Democrats who are voting for him and independents who are voting for him. He took a state that he'd won in 2018 by 0.4 percentage points, and he won it by 20 points in the last election cycle.